Hello, journaling friends, and welcome to my quiet and cozy little space. My name is Peggy, and today I thought I would talk a little bit about junk journaling. I started junk journaling at the beginning of 2024, so I've only really been partaking in junk journaling in the last year and a half or so. However, I did find my old school diary, and as it turns out, my love of junk and sticking ephemera into a diary goes way back to when I was a teenager. So I thought I might just show a couple of pages of that diary. It is going to show my age, which is also totally fine. So this is her. I was thrilled when I found this. It was in a box with my old yearbooks from year 11 and 12. I did find another book full of poems. I'm definitely not going to be sharing that. Anyway, this is it. We're going back to the 80s here, guys. And I was already, sticking in what you would call the equivalent of memes, I guess, that we have online these days by cutting little quotes and stuff out of magazines. If it wasn't for my faults, I'd be perfect. So, the sense of humour thing with regards to memes, which I love to stick in my journal now, used to be in the form of magazine cutouts. So I thought I would just show a couple of pages to you just for fun. So, obviously cutting out outfits that I liked, I'd still wear that. And, because my love of colour obviously runs deep, I just coloured in the rest of the page with texture to give it that colour. And pink, of course. Again, I loved pink. I've always loved pink. And then we have a very colourful, I don't even know what you call this. This could be the equivalent of, my brain spill. That still happens today in my journal, or actually I have a separate journal for that. But good old texture coming through with the colour. And I was obviously already sticking stickers down. Don't forget pick films up. So I was heavily into film photography when I was in high school. I think this might be one of my favourite spreads because yuck. And I know this would have been because it was the start of school exams, which were absolutely terrifying. And again, back to the cutting out magazine quotes, I guess you can call it. Have you noticed that every time you go to the doctor's surgery, someone will say, "Hi, how are you?" And you'll reply, "Fine, thanks." Yep, the humour coming out there. So it would have been boring for me to just write study in my diary. So why not art it up, make it creative? I feel like I'm actually going to get some inspo from this as to how to write in my current journal. What does it all mean? She was asking at the age of 17. And I clearly had some very creative friends in school as well. What an amazing invitation. Aaron is turning 18. And then unemployment, quantify objectives. Find job, in brackets, unlikely. 2, keep occupied. 3, keep off the streets. 4, keep out of trouble. 5, find a hobby. I think that's what it says. Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. This just shows that, even back in my teens, I already had a love of journaling, scrapbooking, junk journaling, collaging, whatever you want to call it. So I'm so glad that, only as recent as last year that, this all came back to me, as in I felt the inclination to want to journal again. I have journaled on and off over the years, but I haven't kept it up for as long as I have this time. So let's talk about junk journaling a little bit. I personally don't buy into labelling what I do in a creative sense. I just create with the purpose of it bringing me joy. I think if you want to call what you do junk journaling or scrapbooking or collaging, that's totally up to you. I just don't enter into that personally, like having to label what I do, because if I'm making it technical, then it sucks the joy out of it for me. When it comes to doing something creative, I just want to create. I don't want to box it into one type of category or another. So you obviously do what works for you. Just putting it out there that you don't have to label anything that you do. Just create and enjoy it, and hopefully it'll bring you some joy. So I'm just going to talk about what you actually need to start junk journaling. If you've been thinking about junk journaling and you feel nervous, or you're not sure where to start, or you're not sure what you need, then I'm going to make it really super simple for you. You essentially need a book of some sort. I use the Hobonichi Cousin. This is the same journal that I used last year as well, and I absolutely love it. I love the paper. I love all the different sections. This year I am using all of the sections, which I didn't do last year. So I've kind of really grown into the Hobonichi Cousin, but you can use whatever you like. You can have, a ring binder, a spiral notebook. The only thing I would recommend is using a soft cover, a book with a soft cover, because when you start sticking in lots of junk, it gets fatter and fatter. And then I don't know how a spine of a hardcover would hold up. I personally haven't used one, but I've just seen videos online of them, the spine, getting destroyed over time with the book getting chunkier. So yeah, I like this one because it is a soft cover. I mean, soft as soft can be. So yeah, you need a book, and then you quite literally only need scissors. I only have 2 pair of scissors. Considering how much I journal, I just don't feel the need to have others. I might get some with, the little jagged edges that cut the paper in a jagged fashion. But for now, these 2 work. I have a big pair to cut the bigger paper and my little tiny Muji pair that I just love. And then all you need is some glue, whether that's glue tape or glue stick. I personally love the Tombow Pit glue stick. These work so well with sticking basically all types of paper or even plastic. I bought a bunch of these when I was in Japan, and then I did run out. So I went to my local supermarket and just bought, I don't even remember the brand, and it did not hold up at all. So the next time I went to Japan, I bought a heap of these so that they would last me as long as possible. So yeah, you only need either tape or glue. I use both the glue tape and the glue stick. But yeah, it's up to you. So you essentially just need scissors to cut your paper, obviously, glue to stick it all down, a book to stick it in, and then your junk. And that's it. That's all you need to get started. So I obviously keep my junk in this little folder. I'm going to be showing this folder as often as I can because I think she's my best stationery find ever. So this is the Muji A5 organizer case. I got her in Japan last year, I think over a year ago anyway. And I basically keep all my travel ephemera in here. The reason I like to have this case is because I like the ephemera to be organized kind of in categories, I guess, and kept in different little compartments. This just works for me. If you want to, you can just have your ephemera or your junk in a pile on your desk. You can just have them all in a drawer. You can put them in any kind of folder that you want. It's totally up to you. I just like this because for me, visually, this works with having it all separated and in little different compartments. So yeah, and just showing you things that you can collect, little packaging and wrappers of things, stickers or labels that come off, coffee cups, and even labels that have come off stationery packets, lolly packaging, coasters, labels, and yeah, lots of lolly wrappers for me. This essentially houses all my Japanese ephemera that I've picked up on my travels. So yeah, again, you don't need anything like this. You can purely just have your junk sitting in a box, whatever works for you. And then some additional materials and accessories or tools, I guess, that you could have. that again, you don't need to have these things, but paper, if you want to, I mean, obviously you can collect old wrapping paper, paper bags that you get from stores, basically anything that can create a really nice background on pages, or even just page filler, which is what I like to use, little scraps of paper for. But even things like these little packets of origami paper that I picked up have, a multitude of colored paper in them. So these work really well for me because I like to usually completely cover my pages. So I don't like to have a lot of the original white paper showing. So yeah, these kind of like paper packets really work for that. And then I also have a tin where I basically keep any little offcuts or little scraps of paper. So when I'm cutting paper to put in my journal, and you end up with like a tiny little corner or piece, I don't throw those out and I just put them in here. So that way, when I'm journaling, I'll come in here and find, little scrappies. So, that for me is just going to fill in a little space with some colour. So again, you can have just junk, you can buy little sheets of paper and keep all your little scraps. Even something like this is just off the corner of a brochure. I love this. I mean, obviously I would say because most of this is Japanese is why it appeals to me. Yeah, but even like just, a little leftover edge of a cookie packet. So scraps. And then some kind of other tools that might work for you are, I really love to use these tweezers. They only cost me a couple of bucks, but I have an aversion. Is it an aversion? I think that's what it's called. To peeling things with my nails. I just don't like it. It's some kind of sensory thing that just I don't enjoy it. So I like to have these tweezers, but also I stick a lot of teeny tiny stickers into my journal. So these tweezers help with obviously getting the stickers off the sheet and also sticking them down on the paper. So you don't need those, but I really enjoy using those. And then there's things like little hole punches to create different shapes. I use these to basically punch little shapes out of colourful paper as well, and kind of like little fillers, I guess, for my page, just like stickers. And then of course you can use washi tape, stickers, anything you want. The good thing about junk journaling is that you don't need to adhere to any kind of rules. You can stick in whatever you want in your journal. I love to absolutely sticker bomb most of my pages. So I don't know, that just brings me joy, and it doesn't matter. There isn't any set rules. Nothing that I do is by any kind of standard, I guess. Another option to add some artwork, I guess, and colour to your journal is printables. So I recently came across a creator by the name of Jenna Templeton on Instagram. I will link Jenna in the description for you to go and have a squiz. I was immediately interested in Jenna's art because it is so colourful, it is bright and bold and playful. It is exactly what I want for my journal. So I immediately joined Jenna's Patreon. So now I have access to their printables and I'm taking full advantage of that. Printables are another really good way to fill your journal with artwork that you love if you're not into drawing, which I am not great at drawing. But also I just wouldn't have the headspace or the time or energy to create the kind of stuff that Jenna creates. So I will link Jenna's details below. If you are into bright, bold, playful colour, then I implore you to go check out her work. It is beautiful. Anyway, I thought I would do a little mini flip through of some of my journal pages, and in particular the junk journal pages. I do journal in different ways in my Hobonichi Cousin. So I'm just going to show you some of the junk spreads though. So this is my Hobonichi Cousin. I essentially just decorate her in whichever way I want. As you can see, it's very playful. There's lots of colour. It's just me. I covered the cover with lots of stickers that I really like. And as the year goes on, I'm just adding more and more to this. So I assume it will eventually be completely covered. So first of all, I thought I would show you one of my monthly spreads. As I mentioned earlier, I'm fully using the Hobonichi Cousin, like every section in various ways. But for the monthly spreads, these take a different shape from month to month. So for March, I essentially just covered all of this in Japanese ephemera because I did spend February and a little bit of March in Japan. So I had a heap of ephemera, which I still do. So I used the month of March to basically just stick down any little bits of ephemera and also some stickers that I picked up in Japan to create this beautiful, playful pink and red and pops of green and yellow spread. I just get so much joy looking at this. I had so much fun actually putting it all together. That just shows you that you can do whatever you want. If you want to use monthly spreads to document what you do each day, you can do that. If you want to just stick down a bunch of ephemera like I do, you can also do that. Again, the luxury of junk journaling or journaling in general is you can do whatever you like. So then we'll move to my weekly pages. My weekly pages I use as a kind of memory keeping, commonplacing. It's a bit of a hybrid mix of anything and everything. Again, doing exactly what I want, and it changes as well as the year goes on. I don't always have an idea on how I want a finished journal spread to look like when I first start decorating pages. I either pick a color scheme, in this case it was this really bright blue that I wanted, and I kind of picked it because I had this printable that I got from Susanna V. Bryant and I really loved the bright blue. So then I just kind of kept in with that colorway for the whole spread. But if not a color, then I usually have a topic that I want to journal about, or sometimes I'll just literally cover a spread with ephemera just for fun without any real meaning behind it. So for this spread, I obviously had the printable and then a bit of ephemera, a couple of quotes that I had printed from Instagram, and then I just wrote in some stuff myself that resonated with me that I had either thought of or seen somewhere. So again, just doing what comes to me at the time. And then I have some travel pages. So in this case, I actually had spent the day while I was in Japan going to a Japanese garden, and I went to a Tom and Jerry exhibition. So, and then I had this really nice lunch at this cafe that was close to the Japanese garden. So what I did was I just kind of kept all the ephemera throughout the day. Obviously this was a brochure that I picked up, which I just loved the artwork and the color on that. And then with my lunch, I had this chopstick packet. I kept that. And then on my little cup of matcha, I had this little swing tag thing. So I obviously kept that and just stuck that in my journal. And then the little, entry slip for the museum and for the Japanese garden. So super cute. Oh, and then I also, with the brochure from the Japanese garden, I used some of the colour on this side. And then I had some stickers that had kind of like a Japanese garden-esque look to them. So I just popped those on to create a bit of extra colour and a bit of texture. So again, you just do whatever you want, whatever your heart desires. And then I thought I would just show you going away from this kind of like, this is a very intentional travel spread. And then I've got something like this where I've just stuck down a heap of ephemera that I collected while I was in Japan, and I've literally just stuck it all down. So as you can see, this one was quite intentional, as in, I've kind of mapped out where I want to put everything. Whereas this one is just, let's just start cutting and sticking. To be honest, at first, I didn't really love the way this spread was taking shape. I decided to start with, the orange. Basically, I picked out these little bits of ephemera out of my folder. So I thought, okay, I'll stick in with the orange purple kind of colorway. But as I was sticking things down, I didn't really love it. But then the more I kept putting things down, it started to take a little bit more shape and it started to look a little bit chaotic, and I really love it. So then I've obviously, stuck down just things like this little bit of packaging that came from a gift that a friend had given me from Okinawa. It was a dessert. So obviously that was not going in the bin. I've got a bit of a receipt here, masking tape, packaging, I've popped some stickers down that kind of resonate, I guess, or coincide with the theme being Japanese ephemera. Bit of washi tape from Japan, a label off a coffee cup, a film canister packet because I like to take film photos when I'm traveling. So yeah, you get the drift. This is just a mishmash of ephemera, but it is Japanese themed because, you know, I was in Japan at the time. I also do Japanese ephemera spreads all throughout my journal, not just when I'm in Japan. Then I have, I guess, again, another intentional junk spread using ephemera that I got from one of my trips to Loft in Tokyo. So I've just used, you know, items or ephemera that came with items that I had bought and yeah, like the receipt. And then I've also stuck in little stickers that I picked up as well. So again, you know, if you want to do a full junk spread, that's fine. If you want to add some stickers in, that's okay too. And then going fully away from my usual style of, you know, playful, cutesy, whimsical illustrations, this spread I decided to just use packaging that came from, like, for instance, the Muji logo that was on a paper bag, and same with the Loft paper bag. And this was also from a bag that I had picked up some souvenirs, and then just little logos. This one was off a Tokyo guidebook, I guess you could call it. So very different to my usual style, but I really enjoyed putting this together. And it was also a way to just use up some of this ephemera that otherwise probably would just sit in a pile in a drawer. I do have a heap of paper bags. I'm happy to pay for paper bags when I'm shopping overseas because, you know, I like to keep the logos or any cute illustrations as junk for my journal. So as you can tell, I'm utilizing all types of what people would probably deem as rubbish and would throw in the bin. I like to keep them and use them. And then lastly, I thought I'd just show you this very bright and colourful and playful spread. This is very much keeping in my preferred style of journaling. In this case, I really wanted to use this super cute Peko-chan packaging, and being, you know, bright pink and red, I just rummaged around in my washi tape collection and got pink and red washi tape, and then some cute little pink stickers to, yeah, just decorate the page. Again, some lolly wrappers. And then in this case, I just like stuck down some gold washi as well, just to give it a little metallic pop. But when I started this, the only thing that I knew that I wanted it to look like was I wanted to have this Peko-chan illustration here. And I had this tissue paper that came in a gift that I got from my friend Nina Aoki, also another amazing artist. And obviously that wasn't going to go to waste. So it worked perfectly as just a background for this spread. So none of this is planned apart from, yeah, as I mentioned, the illustration. So that's it. So I hope this has been helpful. If you've been considering doing some junk journaling, you don't need a lot to start. As I mentioned at the beginning, just some scissors, some kind of adhesive to stick your junk down, a book to put it in, and the junk itself. That's it. The rest you can accumulate over time. At the very start, when I first started in my Hobonichi Cousin in 2024, I used to write a lot more. I still do write on some spreads in my journal as well, but a lot of it is junk journaling as well. And the wonderful thing about journaling is that there are no rules and you just do what works for you as long as what you're doing brings you joy. That's it. That's all I do this for. And also obviously the memory keeping. That's a huge part of it for me. So yeah, just start creating, just start sticking things down on paper. That's all you need to do. And I'm pretty certain that you'll start to enjoy it. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. I hope you found something useful out of my video today. And I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by. And I hope to see you again next time. Okay, bye.